Sketcheads. This your boy, the Dingo, and I'm here with Black Dr. Phil. Together we are Sketcheads. We are a community of creators that inspire each other with our stories. And we're so happy that you guys, clicked on and listened to us today, man. We got an exciting episode for you guys today, man. We have the man, the myth, the legend. We have a public speaker, producer, performer, music educator with over 45 years of performance experience. He's been in
Man,
the game for a while, man. So don't sleep on my brother right here. And he has 25 years of teaching experience, man. It's great to have, someone that's well established who has a foot in the game and then is willing to pour out themselves to the upcoming generations, man. Today we have with us Mr. Joe McCray, man.
yeah.
Tell
What's
the
up,
people what's
man?
up,
Thank you.
brother.
Glad to be here.
Hmm.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
It's
sir, man.
good.
We're happy to have you here, man. It's Black Dr. Phil been wanting to have you on here for a while now, man. We just been like, yeah, we're gonna get him on here. We're gonna
Yeah.
be in their face. So it's just happy to have you here. Man, Black Dr. Phil, man, before we move forward, man, tell the people what's up, brother.
What's up, Sketcheads? I am so glad you're listening. This is going to be a good episode. Like I said, we're coming from a people who are we're like in the middle of the road. We're trying to push through our story. We've been traveling for a little while, but we're still trying to get into the bigger areas of our careers, trying to push our dreams out more. So sometimes, we had one episode talking about the benefits of mentors. Well, here is one mentor. Here is someone who will speak into your life and show you he's at that hilltop, yet he's still learning. And so it's good to get his feedback, and I know you guys will enjoy it. And enjoy his work, man, especially when you look at it on your own time. But yeah, Sketcheheads, let's go.
We will definitely be sharing his information so you guys can go check him out, man. He just recently came out with the Christmas album.
Chris,
Um, it is it's Merry Christmas Volume Two, man. This is his fourth Christmas album. Um, man, and that right there is just an accomplishment on its own, man. Like most of us, I've done music a little bit in the past, and I'm like, oh man, I want to do this, I want to do this, but never do it just because of just life. But we have, Mr. Joel with us, and he is on his fourth Christmas album. Man, Joe, the other day I was working on some editing, and I had put your song on. You told me like all you got to do is just press play and let it ride through. And so
yeah,
you
yeah.
a line, man. I played that thing like 4, 5 times back to back. My wife was like, "Hey, they got a little vibe going." I was like, "Yeah, man, we making it. We can get it nice and toasty in here, brother, man."
Bro, you put that loop on 31 minutes. Loop again. Do it
Yes,
again.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, no problem, man. So how was that for you, man? Like, what inspired you to? Oh wait, I'm jumping the gun. I
We're
just
about
want to get all into
mm,
No,
Joe's life. I'm
mm,
like,
yeah.
hey, brother, man,
Mm.
tell me your story. I want to know it now.
mm,
But as Sketcheads, today we're talking about is it a hobby or not, man? We need to talk about investing in yourselves, man. So many times we want support from people around us, people, our parents, our teachers, mentors, people, our friends, family. We want their approval before we move forward, man. But we still have to invest ourselves, no matter where we are in our creative career. If it's just a hobby, or if we're trying to transition from hobby to pro, or if we're a pro and we want to like slow it down a bit, it don't matter. You still gonna have to invest in yourself some kind of way to keep that creative wheel going, to keep those creative juices going. And I'm glad we have Joe here because, just for the fact of his fourth Christmas album, he's investing in himself. As
Yes,
you can
yes,
see,
yes.
if you're watching right now on YouTube, you can see he's in the studio right now, and that looks like that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, man.
I just, I want to hear from the man himself, man. Joe, tell me what's up, brother.
Yeah, quick,
ma-
quick little tagline about you, and then let's
yeah,
go in, man.
yeah. But real quickly, I started playing the piano when I was 18 months old. So that means that's when my mother could start recognizing melodies. I started taking piano lessons when I was 5, and I started playing for the church when I was 6. So I just turned 50 this year. So I have well over 44 years of playing for the local church, 45 years of
Mm.
performing. Basically got into school. I was very, pretty decent in school, straight A student. And you hear the stories of, hey, get a real job, start focusing on a real career, because creativity and the arts is not considered in many factors a real career. And, when they say fine arts, they say academics, fine arts. And so I decided to take the path of computer science, and that was going to be my thing. And I went to college, started out as a computer science and engineering focus, and wasn't my thing. I switched to business after crashing a program in Pascal and realized that's not what I want to do in my life. I did finance. I graduated from college with a finance degree. I actually paid for college with the track scholarship. So I was a quarter miler. Graduated with a finance degree, worked at a multi-billion-dollar bank, had a $200 million portfolio that I was assistant analyst on, and that wasn't it either. And so 20 years ago, I stepped away from that and went back to my first passion, and that was music. And that's the main thing. First of all, it's like, hey, you hear those statements. What job would you take if you didn't need a job? And the jobs I was working, those are jobs I would take if I needed one, but it's not jobs I would take because I wanted one or desired to express my true identity and work. Right. So I realized that's not where I was, because there was no fulfillment. And in reading some different things like Strengths Finders is where you find out, hey, what do you love? What are you great at? And what is someone willing to pay for? And that's where you begin to pattern your life. And it brought me back to creativity and art.
Wow. Nice,
man, that was
it's a journey. I love it.
Yes.
Because that's part of what the Sketcheads was, to encourage people like that, who are just like you're saying, at that first part of life where sometimes you just have to pay the bills. Right. You just have to, and just somewhere along the line, they were dissuaded to get away from that thing they truly desired,
Right. And it's a challenge because, again, the Hebrew word for money, kesef, starts with the letter, there's a Hebrew letter called Kaf, where we get our letter K. The second letter is Samic, where we get our letter S, and the last letter is Pei, where we get our letter P. But from a hieroglyphic or imagery perspective, Kaf represents palm of hand, Samic represents circulation or support, Pei represents communication. So money just simply means, what do my hands do? Now, Samic represents what's my niche or what's my market. Pei represents what's my marketing. So what happens is when we struggle to make money to pay bills is because probably we're not doing what our hands are designed to do. We're not putting it in our market where we are designed to flow, and we don't have a marketing plan. So we find ourselves chasing money when money should be chasing us. Money, just at a core, just a certificate of performance. So I had to realize, if I'm not making enough money, I probably haven't developed enough skills. So like you said, moving from hobby, something I like to do, but refining it to where something said that's something other folks say I need in order to improve my life. So I had to learn to move away from doing it just for fun, but doing it and finding out how to be a necessity for the market I serve.
Wow, man. I'm telling you, that was such a huge grain, just a grain of truth and wisdom right there. And the thing, though, is, you can say social media and all this kind of stuff, but I think it's been like that forever. But we put so much of our being into other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. If I don't hit that number, if I don't get those views, or even if I don't get the accolade of another creative person, that can shut the door from me even trying anymore. It's like I'm sure you've gone through that too. It's just, for some people, they had that gift, they still have that gift, but it's more about how are people seeing me with it,
Well, we had that, like you said, even before social media, we had record labels. Imagine the rejection from a record label. You know what I mean? It's like where you put all your energy into a craft, and then you take it to a label, and they're like, well, you're not what we're looking for. This is not what we want. So before we got no views, we got no, and all that. And so I had to learn that at the end of the day, as they say, find your 1,000 screaming fans. And it's not necessarily at the record label. It's not necessarily online. It's simply finding folks that are even in the Bible where it says, let your light shine in your own household, and don't hide it under a bushel. But, folks will say, okay, what, you're preaching now? I said, well, no, I mean, even in the Bible, the word household means oikos, which translates into English, eco. So therefore, your economy is just your household management. Where are the people that I influence, and how do I manage influence? So ultimately, in order to build an economy or an ecosystem, I need to find out the people I influence and how do I manage influence. It's not so much of, and if those numbers are not what I want on social media, maybe I don't have the influence I thought. If I don't get it at the record label, maybe I don't have the influence I thought. But there's a market somewhere, and this nugget that I saw is it takes about a ton of dirt to find 1 ounce of gold. And I think the challenge is that most people don't want to dig up the dirt to get to the gold. They get discouraged in the digging. So it's digging, and it's like, I'm 50 years old. This didn't happen last night. This has been a 50-year journey. And some people will look at the industry that will say, these are our top artists, which represents what, 1% of all music, to say that's what you want to be. But that's not necessarily, it's great, but you can do well without the exposure. There's a number of things that you can do in your household, in your circle of influence, to still be successful.
Wow, that's also because, and I it's jumping not too far, but what about people in different cultures who we weren't even like shown that culture. We weren't even exposed to that from kids. I come from Jamaica, you know. We have a long history of entertainment and arts and stuff like that. But to take it any further, there was no luxury for that, you know, and the practical thing is what worked out. The lawyer, the doctor, you know, those kind of stuff. But then,
I think it still goes back to this, and again, I am definitely not an expert beyond American culture, but we are all an expert on unique, and my mentor would say, if it's not unique, it better be cheap. So a lot of times, a lot of times we'll look at it and say, hey, I didn't have that opportunity, or I didn't have that opportunity, but we find ourselves getting into that cookie cutter mold of doing what everybody else is doing, and then when you look around like, well, why can't I break free? It's like, well, there's 1,000 of y'all, or 1,000 of us, or 1,000 of this person doing the exact same thing, So I have to step back and say, well, how do I be unique? It doesn't mean be radical, but what is it that's not being done? And all of us, when you think about this, we lose our identity trying to be like someone else, because no one has the same fingerprints. No one has the same iris identification, not even twins. So no, there are not identical twins, maybe identical features, but their fingerprints are different, their irises are different, and things are different to identify or to separate that. So if God is going to make us that different, why would we follow someone else's footprint? Like, what are you saying specifically to me? What are my ideas, and how can I do what I do? So when I start making a record, I'm not trying to figure out, well, how would Michael Jackson do it? How would Prince do it?
How this arranger do stuff? Yeah.
I hear an idea and I just record the idea I heard. Why'd you do that? It was in my head, and I'm just going to go with it. Well, what if no one likes it? Well, I'm not trying to do it for anybody. I'm just doing it because I'm inspired to do what I heard. And I have to figure out now how to turn that into a business, into an ecosystem. But I have to believe, one, that I have some good stuff. And I think that's the challenge a lot of times when we think about the stock market. I'm going to make that investment. I'm going to make that investment because we believe it's a good investment. What I had to believe, number one, I am a good investment. So before I put all my resources all in the stock market, I have to say, is Joel McCray a good investment? Can I get a return on that? If I don't believe in it, why would I expect anybody on Facebook to do it?
Woo, that's good. That's good, John, man. I wanted to ask, in the sense of, making it a hobby into a profession, like, what were some indicators that you kind of noticed that made you feel like, all right, I'm making positive steps towards my professional career in music, versus, because you was working, at a bank, managing a money portfolio,
making money
to transition into, the music career. And most people with a business degree or the standard of the world will look at, oh, you're going to just be a starving artist. And that's not the case, because just like how you said, like, when you work, it was not for like like I want to, grow and be my best in this role. I'm
Mhm.
going to do this to take care of what I need to take care of now, and I'm still going to work in myself, because when we hear invest in ourselves, uh, a lot of people think that it's putting money behind it. Like, like I
Yeah.
love how you broke down the money, the money aspect the way you did, because it's just like, what are you doing with your hands? Are you in front of your right, your market, and how is your marketing? Because you can invest in yourself just by reading a book. Reading the book, and spending 30 to,
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
hour and a half and reading this whole book front to cover, that can give you, lifetime worth of knowledge, man. So I wanted to know if there was like, like that whole journey and that process to you, because I know it was not easy.
No, it's not easy, and I think a lot of it is also just kind of defining what that is, meaning like this process, because I don't like fluff words, like just throwing out motivational words where folks like, wow, that was motivating. Now what do I do? So I think that we're triune beings. We're spiritual, we're intellectual, we're physical. But what does that mean? I have to first start out like saying, what am I inspired to do? If I didn't have to do anything else, what inspires me? And inspired just means to breathe. And if I'm not doing what I'm inspired to do, I'm dead. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so a lot of times people start with intellect, like you said, information. Read, 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 study, 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 study. But that study is not necessarily coupled with inspiration. So I got information, no inspiration. So I'm informed, but I'm not inspired. So those people tend to burn out, you know. So therefore, it's like I want to find out. Here's how I'm inspired. Once I find out how I'm inspired, number one, then I want to find out what information do I need to know in order to interpret my inspiration, communicate my inspiration, and be effective in that understanding that inspiration. So that's where the study is. And I don't like studying stuff I'm not inspired to do. So it's like, oh, how do you study? If I'm not inspired, I don't want to know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then finally we're physical. What do I need to practice in order to physically execute what I'm inspired to do, what I'm informed on, and now how do I actually execute it? And I want to get all of those three areas to line up and really be in sync, because the Bible says a double-minded man's unstable in all his ways. What does that mean? I'm getting information about finance to be a banker, but I'm inspired to do music. Hence why I'm living this very conflicted life, because what I'm inspired to do is not what I'm desiring to do.
Wow.
So I was like, let me line those things up first, so therefore I'm inspired. I got some ideas, and just like y'all are here, like, hey, I'm inspired to do graphics. Okay, I'm gonna spend some time with Phil, and understand what do I need to know, and what do I need to learn, and what do I need to be able to physically execute. So those were for some first steps. Then I began to find out, what does the market's value for that? What are some different valuations of those things? And now it's like, okay, this is worth this is worth that, this is that. And then you go into like low hanging fruit. What's some of the first things I can start doing to start generating some income? Because sometimes we'll pick an idea that's so far off, so difficult to do, then we'll get really discouraged.
And then it kills everything.
And it kills everything. But you'll step back and like, because what I got convicted on is like, wait a minute. I'm putting hours and hours of analysis for this bank, but I'm not putting any analysis on me. Why is it that I'm analyzing and finding out credit worthiness for a large corporation, but I'm not going to sit down and find out, Joel, what can you do? All right, how well can you do it? What's the market willing to pay? What's the break-even analysis on that? You know what I mean? And then once you do that, then you're like, whoa, that's not that bad. I might be able to pull that off. Here's what I need at home to take care of family, because I'm a husband and a father and all that kind of stuff. So I can't be, hey, I'm moving to LA and starting to do music. Like, no, we got mortgages, car notes, all these different things. But you put those obligations down and say, okay, here, like the Bible will say, count up the cost. And it's opposed to building a tower and can't finish it. Count up the cost, then find out, okay, now that I've counted up the cost, here are my abilities, and here's what those abilities are worth. Here's some timelines where I can pull that off. And then over time, you have some hits, you have some misses, but you begin to slowly transition. So it wasn't always cold turkey. Even transitioning into music, I went into full-time worship pastoring, and that was like linear, because when they say, hey, we want you to come here, so, this is what I make over here. In order for me to quit, I need to make that over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start building up skills to where you can keep making those linear and gradual upward moves.
Mm,
Makes sense.
that's good, man. That's real good, man. I'm trying to tell you, Sketcheads, you gonna have to play this back like a few times
Bro,
because
I'm gonna play this
y'all is
back.
dropping so much nuggets, and I'm just like, man, like that was not even the point. That was just a little side piece, he put on the side for us, man. And man, you gonna want to listen to this again, Sketcheheads, for sure. Um, another thing I wanted to ask you, Joe. Do you, now with your talent, it's music. Do you feel like that was a gift to you, or was it like hobby turned passion to undying desire to get it done?
Well, I believe it was given to me, meaning, and here's the deal. We don't want to confuse talent with skill.
Yeah.
Everybody's given
Yeah.
talent at something, but
Yeah.
no one's given skill. And I think the separation is that some folks like, oh, that child's so talented. We get all excited, but it's like, even if you see a 5-year-old ripping it up, they put in the hours all day, every day doing the same
That's why
thing.
That's why I don't get depressed watching those little kids on YouTube. Like.
Nope, because I guarantee you they put in the time. So, as
Mhm.
as the Malcolm Gladwell principle says, 10,000 hours to develop a skill. You'd be surprised sometimes, like, hey, working 10 hours a day, 5 to 10 hours a day, you will get to 10,000 hours
Yeah.
by 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they already put in their hours. And so, yes, I was born with a natural ability to hear music in my head, meaning that, okay, I hear the music. But it took years of trying to make sure that, just like me touching my ear, touching my nose, touching my mouth, I had to get my body to actually catch up with my mind, and I had to get the information to be able to kind of inform my body if I get lost and I don't understand what I'm hearing. That's where that education comes in. But that was already there. And I think the challenge is sometimes, and we're not wanting to discourage anybody, but we always want to tell somebody, go with your natural bent. That means when you are sitting silent and you're not thinking about anything, what plays in your mind? Do you see movies? Do you hear music? Do you see culinary arts? Do you see architectural design? You'll see certain people starting to do art based on the money they can make, but not based on the inspiration they got. You know what I mean? So that's like, wait a minute. Why are you chasing music? Oh, I like Justin Bieber. Or I like Beyonce. Or I like Kirk Franklin. Why? Oh, because they make a lot of money. No, that ain't it. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Can you make money? Yes, but at the same time, make sure that it's driven from within and not attracted from the outside. You know what I mean? If I weren't going to make a dime in music, I still would be doing music because I can't not do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're fed opposite message, man.
Mm-hmm.
We've been fed an opposite message by the music industry and even some of the top musicians in different areas too. They can give that false impression that it is about the money, it's about the fame, and and the intermediate and people's they get lost. We don't research because we're depressed and realize there's hundreds, thousands of people that are just as talented who are living lives well, that have families that are okay, but we don't see that. We only see the struggling artists, and we see the very people at the very top. And
Right.
is that comparison, stuff like
Well,
that.
then you also have to look at this. Uh, I would encourage people to research the breakdown of income streams, or just the breakdown of average income in America, because we're sold the myth that if you're not making millions of dollars, you're not successful. That's the craziest thing anyone can be sold, not realizing that the average household income is between 50 and 60,000. So that means if someone went out and made $40,000 in a year, they're not doing half bad, But they're like saying, "Oh man, I'm out here hustling in these streets, and I only made $50,000." That's average. That's not bad. I mean, that's not broke. Now, that might be, some folks might be living beyond their means and might need to have another discussion on money management. But but then you're like, you get up to $70,000, you're getting in the top 20 percentile. You get into 90,000, you get into $100,000, then you starting to push 10%, 5%, you get over $150,000, you're in the top. $200,000. So folks start seeing these football players with multi-million-dollar deals. Unrealistic. Can it happen? Yes, but we're talking about percentage upon percentage. So success has to be redefined on I get to do what I love and I get to actually folks value it and I'm good at it. And that's where you're like, and I can have a very great life where I can have memories, I can take care of my obligations, and I can keep growing, but let's not meet, and that doesn't mean to turn everybody off from their millions. Yeah, let's put our $1 million board, our dream board up, but let's be realistic on the definition of success, because in America, I think our success definition is highly skewed, and we look at Hollywood and movies to determine what success is.
That's real good.
And for any of you sketches that are young, it's true. I know, man, you have kids, this time with the pandemic and stuff, it's been, we talk about being depressed and stuff, but I can empathize with kids who they're dependent on everyone else. And then to now also still get the same questions I had where, what are you going to do with your future? That can be, and even more so for someone who wants, if you want to go into creative arts, where do you go? And I know for a lot of young sketches, that's the question. This hobby that I had the luxury of doing it in a society that made sense. But now everything, the schedules have changed. Everything has changed. College is not even a given anymore because health reasons. It's like what seems to be happening. But I like what you're saying. It's sort of going back to you. You have to look at you first instead of looking at someone else constantly on social media. You have to look at you.
Right. Well, this the very first thing in the Bible. The very first thing we learn about God is not information; it's creativity. Genesis 1:1, God is creative.
Yeah.
Genesis 1:26, God made us like Him. So wait a minute. So the first thing we're learning about God is His creativity, and one of the second things after He created, now let us make man in our image, is that wait, if He's creative, then we're creative, and then thousands of years later, He documents it. So wait a minute, that means people are living for thousands of years on inspiration alone and exploration. Inspiration, exploration, and then by the time you get to like whatever 2300 BC and stuff like that, now you get documentation, and then you get the Bible around 1500 BC. So if you're like saying all these things we're reading in the Bible, it wasn't even documented until starting around 1500 BC. So what are these people doing? Like ideas. So what happens when we kill someone's inspiration, we kill their ideas, and someone begins, even the Bible says the law kills. We start looking for rules. Rules don't create. Theory doesn't create. Documentation doesn't create. It explains, but we need to have that desire to be curious, that desire to go on the other side of the mountain and see what's there. Removing perfectionism, that doesn't mean realism is gone, but it's like, I'm not afraid because He hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. So therefore it's like, hey, come to me like a child. Hey, what does that mean? Child has no fear. We train the child to be afraid, and once they become afraid, then they stop trying to do things new, So I encourage folks to like say, what's my idea? Now, that doesn't mean we need to be unrealistic. There's going to be testing. We need to be surrounded with mentors. We need to be surrounded with people that understand that we need to be able to analyze our ideas, execute our ideas, perfect our ideas, whatever that outlet is. And even in a pandemic, the market didn't disappear, the method disappeared. So what we had to figure out is like, okay, now that the market's gone, the method's gone, how do I re-engineer my methods to get to the market? And for example, for me, instead of trying to keep my costs down on my projects, you'll look around, folks like, oh man, he ain't no real producer. He don't have a studio. Well, I just produced my last CD for $400. Guess how many CDs I need to sell to break even? 40. I'm only selling for $10. So after I sell 40 CDs, guess what? I'm in the profit margin, So now I don't necessarily have to go out there and say, hey man, I went out there and did $100,000 budget on the project. Now I need to figure out how to make my money back. I don't have days like that because to me, that's crazy. As Pastor Evan would say, crazy. 3 words. You know what I'm saying?
And I know you're not out there on the street saying, man, I need this to cover.
No, you know what I mean? And I think that's where it's like, you know, you count up your costs, you and barter, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't have a problem bartering, you know, as we all do. It's like, hey, that person has this skill. Nah, okay, I'll do this for you. If you do this for me, we keep our costs low. And that means we're not under the gun to have to sell our product. We can actually make our money back in a reasonable time frame, you know, keep our overhead, our expenses down, and then take care of home, take care of our passion, and then folks find out of us about what we do along the way.
Man, you almost made me feel like almost every artist or creative need to go to like, like some class for banking and finances. Like, I mean, that should be
that part.
That should that should be in finances. Like, I mean, that's in general for just every person in school.
And catch your bread on many waters. Because like the pandemic happened, you know, and it's like, okay, well, there's a couple of things. You get your stimulus check. Do I buy the keyboard or do I take some of the money and put it in the stock market? Well, I wasn't really in the stock market that much, but then you go back and like saying, hey, everything in the stock market's at a discount. So I'm going to put some in the stock market and I'm going to put a little bit in the music side. And then you watch those stocks go crazy. And it's like, how did that happen? Did you sell some CDs? Nope. Stock market. You know what I mean? So you begin to look at other areas and be aware that there are other, cast your bread on many waters and get your multiple streams and try to make sure that you understand that, hey, I am a good investment, but I'm not the only investment. So I need to diversify and make sure I invest in other things.
Man, I'm gonna be banking tomorrow.
Yeah, I definitely, I kind of want to echo what you kind of said earlier. What the kind of conversation was about, kind of like counting the costs, looking at what is possible, what's doable, what's driving you there. Because I know, like earlier, I mentioned that, I did a little bit of music. And, having this conversation, I did music because I was seeing all the rappers with the chains and all this other stuff. And I want to live that lifestyle too. It's just like, who don't want to have two nice diamond out chains?
What you're saying is he was that kid you're in the jump music video?
Yes. If I have to wear my pants backwards to get me a diamond encrusted chain, I'm about to wear my pants backwards. But trying to pursue that, with kind of like, ill intentions, it didn't produce any fruit. Like I was just trying to like grow plants on concrete. It's just like the soil is not taking the seed. So definitely, man, like ask yourself all these hard questions, man. Because the questions that Joel mentioned, throughout this, that hey, those are not easy questions, especially as a creator, especially if you're like kind of like new in your craft and stuff like that. This is your little baby. You don't want anything to happen to your precious little baby, but you need to be real with yourself and like, all right, my baby head is a little off. I might need to get him a helmet so we could get this, and there's nothing bad with that. You know what I'm saying? It's just preventative measures so that way when it grows correctly, it grows properly, it grows healthy and strong. You don't want to, if you're starting off, like Joe said, it took him years. Like he had like an ear for music. He can hear the notes and stuff like that. It probably registered in his head differently from how it registers in my mind, but I don't have that, I didn't have that motivation, that drive, that determination to just be disciplined and just stick with it. And that's a lot of the times with just as creators, like if you're just disciplined enough, you can get to a goal, but depending on how you define your success and how you define your goals, you might reach it sooner than later, or you might not reach it at all. So you definitely want to ask yourself those questions, as I would say, as they come, because you don't want to like ignore anything off, because whenever you ignore something and try to lay it to the wayside, you will get presented with an opportunity where you're gonna need that skill that you should have been studying,
Woo.
like a month, a month earlier, and
Right.
it's
Oh
just
yes.
like now you're kind of doing it off the fly, and then you're able to produce it, but you're not happy with the work because it's just like, man, I just rushed it, and like, yeah, it's good, but I know I could have done better seeing the process, and if I had a little bit more time to like do this and do that, I know I would have produced a better product. Um, man, ask yourself those questions, especially if you're young. If you're young, definitely ask yourself those questions now, because right now you have nothing on your shoulders, nothing on your plate that's gonna be like, disastrous, other than school. That'll be disastrous if you let it go, because you know how the system teaches us is that you're going to ask permission to use the bathroom, you know all through elementary school, all through middle school, all through high school, and then on your senior year of high school, they're going to ask you what college you're going to go to, and what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Those are big questions, man. Those are big design. I've changed jobs plenty of times. I'm pretty sure Black Dr. Field did the same thing. I know he has. He's mentioned it before. Joel just mentioned it as well. Starting from one area, and you're kind of like trying to find your way. And yeah, sometimes you might be doing something that your heart is not in, and you're giving so much into it, and like you're feeling a pull in your craft. Before, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Before you made the transition from the banking world to music, you gave it some time. Like, you didn't just,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, no, no. I mean, because here's the one thing that we don't want to throw school out with the bathwater. It's kind of like, for example, when you're sitting there and it's like, I have a budget, I have a home. Some people don't even look at a budget. They just go from month to month and like say, hey man, I'm on my hustle, I'm on my grind. I gotta do what I gotta do. It's like,
Yeah.
I was
no,
there.
I
Yeah.
I, I want to know how much does it cost every month for me to live. And then how do I want to live? What type of lifestyle do we want to have? What's reasonable? And even if you jump out there and say, hey man, I want to go and get this $500,000 house. Well, let's just start with a $500,000 house for a second. Folks like, hey man, I think to be successful, I should live in a $500,000 house. Okay. All right. On average, you're going to pay about $5,000 a month for a mortgage. Now, to get approval for that, the bank will only let that be about 30% of your income. So you're going to have to make at least 15 grand a month to get qualified for that house. Now you have to say, am I making 15 grand a month? No. So, but folks will start trying to go down those roads, and the math and reality don't match, and so, and then, like you say, the preparation, what do I need to do? Do I have the skill sets to get to $15,000 a month? What does that look like? Well, we already said earlier, if you're making $7,000 a month, you're doing pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're making $5,000 a month, somebody better shout praise. You know what I mean? But it's like, so sometimes they have to do some reality. So I had to do a lot of analysis, and I have my Excel spreadsheets, and I'm going through, because I'm an analyst nerd, and I'm looking through like, okay, here are all the bills and this, that, and the other. What's that look like? And I'll even have it. If this goes up 10%, what do I need to do over there? Okay, bam. If that goes down, what do I need to do over here?
Yeah, because
okay,
all told 100.
how many productions do I actually need to pull off in order to live like this? Do I have enough production in my foot? Oh, maybe I can teach lessons. How many lessons do I need to teach? Well, if I do teach lessons, how many hours, how much do I need to charge per hour in order to do those lessons? Is that realistic? Will somebody pay that? You know what I mean? So now I got to research, what will they pay? What can I actually make? And once you put all those different things down, because some people are like, oh, I'm going to make a CD. The market doesn't make money off their CD sales. They're making
What
money.
What is a CD?
What is it?
You're talking baking for music.
Yeah, and I think Pharrell, when folks will get discouraged when they'll find out that Pharrell on Happy made like $2,000 in royalties from Spotify. And when you think of a song that big, you're like, wait a minute, $2,000? So you're like saying, well, I'm probably not going to make my money on streaming. So therefore, how do I actually do, like, what information do I have that someone wants to know? How can I get someone to advertise on my platform as I build it? So anyway, you start counting your costs, and you start putting all those things down, and then you start making moves, because I don't want to make a move and then all of a sudden have to backtrack. Hey, can y'all take me back at the bank? Because it didn't work out. No, I'm like, when I move, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of inspiration,
Yes.
or it takes true inspiration, not any
Mhm.
fake for it to continue. Like you said, that like you're saying, Fernando, that gold, seeing all that, you'll know it's not fool's gold because it's keeping you. It's keeping you.
Hmm.
It continues to keep you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's. I mean, and even talking about, we said hobbies versus careers and stuff. What about legacy? Especially for creative people who get older and stuff. Can you say something about that? Like, I don't
Well,
know. I just even feel sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with age, but sometimes I'm just like, I feel a desire, inspiration to also help others not forget that they could do this too.
especially when you think about one of the biggest inspiration, pass on of inspiration and legacy is a family, you know. And since I ran track, I'll use this analogy. If you're going to run a relay around the track, it doesn't matter how fast you get around the track because the goal is not for us to get around the track. The goal is for the baton to get around the track.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone's fast and that baton does not make it around the track, that team's disqualified. So what's the baton? Legacy. That means each parent group is passing something on to the next generation. And they're coming around that curve and they're like, I'm going to run this life well. Stick, I'm passing this ideology on to you. Run your life well. Pass something on. But culturally, that's not what we've experienced. I know even in my own life, when I'm running my life and it's time for dad to hand something off, I put my hand back and I'm like, oh, DQ. Guess what I got to do? I got to go all the way back to the starting line and start off a whole new race. And for you, generation to generation, a stick of legacy never passes. So I'm thinking, okay, one, how long will I be blessed to live? We don't know, but let's just say we live 70 years. What does that look like? What do I need to be putting aside for retirement wise? What I need to be putting aside as far as thinking about the opportunities for the kids? What does that need to look like? Because I don't want to be so focused on my music, my career, and all of a sudden I go on the ground like, man, that brother Joe, man, he had some killer music. And my kids looking at me like, really? Left nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so
and I would say this, the history, Joel, of the music industry in the Black community. That's happened too much. Like, it's too much, especially when it comes to music.
So many things that we don't know. So many things that, like you say, like Fernando, like you said earlier, we need to take the time to educate ourselves on not only how to generate wealth, but how to manage wealth, and how to pass wealth on, because it's not about the money. Money's just a tool, but money is like oxygen. It's like we don't live for oxygen, but we need oxygen to live. We don't live for money, but we need money to live. If we manage it right, we pass it on. And money just means that we maximized our abilities, and then we're showing the next generation how to maximize theirs. And then, like we said, that economy is just is influence management. Here's my influence. Here's how I manage it. Here's how I add value. Here's how I manage that value. Here's how I pass value on and bless others.
Awesome.
That sounds so great, man. I, you know, I'm so like thankful to have you here, man, because you, like I said, you dropped so much nuggets on us today, and it's just like so much stuff for me to like kind of like put in perspective with my craft and like asking myself those questions. Earlier, you mentioned like you know, be like, I kind of like have a child mentality. You were speaking about God and showing how God, at the beginning of the Bible, He was creative, and then He made us in His image, and having that kind of that creativity, that kind of mindset, and being childlike mind with our not only with our imagination, but when we ask ourselves these questions, because when you was going through like, all right, with your financial decisions, you know, should I put it here? Should I put it there? If this happens, then this. You got to ask yourself all these questions because you got to make sure you could cover as much ground as you see. You're not gonna be able to take care of everything. There's gonna be some things you can't,
Right.
and some unknown stuff. That's just life. But
But
you know, but just being able to just have those moments with yourself and figure out your next positive steps forward, because and I think that right there is a big investment in yourself by taking that inventory, taking that stock, and seeing what you could do. If profits are up, you probably could splurge and get a better instrument or a better piece of equipment. But if it's not, if you just broke even, you can just get the one that you was planning on getting.
Right.
And you don't need, if you've been able to do it before, you can still do it now. As long as you're taking those positive steps in the direction that you want to go. And then
Right.
also too, man, that your teaching experience and your performance experience is just like showing like crazy, because you know you who has a mentor, and I'm pretty sure you have mentees, just based through teaching, not even people you meet along the way, but it's just you have to put the time in, you have to put the work in on yourself so you could get the opportunity to have these kind of experience of creating an album, performing live with the band, yeah, adjusting to a pandemic on how you're going to, you know,
Even
just,
continue in that
yeah, just
field.
show yourself to your market, and market to them that's convenient for them. Because we in the, so one thing you said about America, Joel, was that our perception of what of success is kind of misconstrued, and I think that has a lot to do with our desire for comfort. We want everything right here, right now, as quick as possible, man. But it took you years,
Well,
45 years, yeah,
I
50
try
years.
to learn something new every year, even if it's not like a musical skill. Like one thing I picked up on was golf, and
Hmm.
I'm not anywhere near good at it, yet. But I would probably say thousands of hours into golf. And folks are like, well, why would you put that into that? I said, because I want that mental thought process of having to develop something new and put time into it. And just
Hmm.
to show that there's no really major goal other than showing, even like the kids, like if you put time into something, focus time into something, you're going to develop a skill at it. And the cool thing about golf as a strategy, because one of my strengths is trying to develop a strategic mind, is to go out there and look at a course and say, how do I manage this course? What tool do I need to pull out of this golf bag based on what's in front of me? And I'm taking that same mentality and applying it to music, applying it to art.
Wow.
Hey, here's a pandemic. And right now, based on this pandemic, that hole looks very far off. I'm going to have to change my tool because I can't hit with this one because that doesn't hit far enough. I can't hit with that one because I can't hit it straight enough. So let's go here. Even with this pandemic in March, on one weekend, I come home, hey, no more restaurants. Oh, that's a line of income. No more church. Uh-oh, that might be a line of income. Shelter in place. No more students. Whoa, that's a line of income. No more school. That's another line of income. Literally everything I did in 24 hours, gone,
Wow.
you know, and I'm self-employed. So you're sitting there like, okay, we've been here before. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened. So the first thing I had to do was calm down, because we begin to make bad decisions when we're afraid, and God has not given us a spirit of fear. So I had to calm down and say, okay, God, this didn't catch you off guard. So then you go back to like Moses in the Old Testament. He's like, okay, and God's like, what's in your hand? It's like, okay, now let's start thinking about some things that I can do. The first thought, like we said earlier, the market's not gone. The method is. And the market still needs services. I have to re-engineer how we get our services to the market. So then as we begin to regroup, retool, and I had to learn some new skills. I started doing a little bit of videography because all of my stuff went online. Had to get better at Zoom, had to get better at cameras and lighting. You see lights coming in here now. These are things that I had to buy. So it's like, wait a minute, why are you buying stuff? You may not have any money. It's like, no, I'm gonna have to reinvest, retool. I need lenses for my cameras because I'm probably going to be teaching online. I need a better phone. So I started really investing in these areas that I thought that the market was going to shift to. And then said, oh, we also need, not that I'm really interested in getting one, but someone's going to need to make a vaccine. So I'm going to invest in pharmaceutical companies. You know what I mean? And so watching that do what it does and investing in yourself based on what we think the market's going to do. And one little last point, kind of like you were saying about investing in yourself, we know that God is infinite, but infinity times 0 is still 0. That means if I invest nothing in me, he said, I can do exceedingly, Ephesians 3:20, I can do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask, think, imagine, according to the power that works in you. So that means if I'm not investing in
that last
my
part,
capacity,
I know
there's
some church kid who just passed out because they forgot that last part. What that last part? According?
Yeah, according to the power that works in you. So that means if God is infinite and I'm operating at 0, infinity times 0 is 0. If I develop myself to a 1, then at least, now I'm seeing even greater things, not because he can do greater things, it's because I have greater capacity. Now I'm at a 2, greater works, because I have greater capacity. He's already beyond infinity. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think when I begin to say, you know what, the reason I'm investing in me is not because I don't have faith. It's because I need a bigger bowl. I need a bigger pot. I need a bigger can, because and he says, I'm going to pour into you, press down, shaking together, that men will give to your bosom. I need to expand my capacity, my broadband, my dimensions to receive downloads from God. And I need to improve my hardware to be able to display what he's doing so that folks can value it.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm telling you, this is awesome, man. And that's a good way to end that. I will add one thing, just funny before we end out here. Are you sure you didn't learn golf just for the analogies?
I do that with everything. I do.
You do
everything. I'm a nerd like that, man. But I'm a true. Ironically though, when I did an IQ test, art, creativity is my lowest score. My highest score is analysis.
What?
So basically the way I look at it, they say, but aren't you an artist? I said, but art, again, inspiration is like breathing. So it's like, breathe, produce, exhale. Breathe, produce. And so that's kind of how art works with me. I get an idea, and then analysis takes place. I produce, then I'm going to breathe again, exhale. So it's a part of me, but I am definitely a nerd.
Yeah,
I love it. I like to call myself a nerd, but sometimes, man, I be lazy. But now I love it that you just think you're a thinker, man. And as creatives, that's just how we work. We see things differently. We analyze things differently. We receive things differently. So, just that alone, man, of how you're using what you have to form it into what you want it to be, and then presenting it in the correct position to where it can just shine as bright as possible. So, man, I love your story, Joe, man. Before we head out, brother, man, this is your time, man. What's up, man? It's your plug, brother, man. What you got going on for us, man?
What's coming up? You got the Christmas. Please, everyone, check his social media, his website. We'll be placing those. We're even going to share your music video again that you put out for your Christmas album. This guy is really good. Enjoy it, man.
Thank you.
It's cool. It helps. To have the outer body look cool too. While you're doing it. We're not hating on other musicians, but if you look cool, it helps too.
I'm trying to stay relevant, man. You hit 50, man. You just got to stay relevant, man.
You look like you were
video today. Man. And I saw you started busting the move in there. Well, I got up too. I was here. Let's go. I was about to get there.
Oh, man.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. But what plug us in, man. Tell us where we can find you.
Man, what I'm saying? I'm Joel B. McCray and Facebook, Joel B. McCray and Instagram. I have my website, joelmccray.com. You can find my music, Joel McCray, on all social media outlets. I have actually probably about 10 projects out there. For 3 Christmas projects online and about 6 or 7 projects out there. I'm coming out with a new one early next year called Sailing. So that's already in the works and everything. And so just doing some traveling, creating. I teach privately. I do webinars. I speak. My main thing is not so much about me, but actually trying to inspire other people to create. And I just try to create with everything that I do. So the plug is really like, hey guys, if it's in you, try to get it out of you and bless somebody else. If my stuff bless you, great. If not, that's okay. I got it out because it was in me. I didn't get it out to be known. it takes care of itself. You know what I mean? So the
Right.
motivation is it came out because it's in me. So I produce for others. My main thing is composition coaching. So mainly for those who are like, I have all these ideas musically in my head. So my goal is to teach music like a language. And and if you understand the language of music, you're much easier to communicate and express and interpret your musical ideas.
Oh, trust me, I'm definitely hitting up you. You know, I went to Sketcheads. I went to one of his classes, a free one he did. Or actually, I think I did pay. But I'm like, yeah, this is it. You know, this is good. He's a good teacher, and that's really what you guys. What we mentioned before, mentors. You want people who speak life, who bring wisdom. You know, not just give you the facts and disappear. You know, this man is someone we all should invest in. That's my opinion. So,
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Man, Joe, man, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us, man.
yeah.
Man, this was it was a great time, man. Like I said, man, if you gonna have to play it back because there's a lot of stuff
It
that
really is.
you probably didn't hear that first time because he was just going with it and it just came out so fluently that some parts it was like, I was listening to it and it's like, you need to write that down. And I'm like, which part? It was three of them I was thinking of, but which one? So
Hey, yeah, sit down, drink your drink, some snacks, and start taking. Just write it.
yeah. So, but thanks again, Joe, man. Black Dr. Phil, you got anything to say before we let the people go?
Thank you so much, man. You know, like I said, I've been always mentioning it to you and, saying stuff, but to actually get this done, I think we've opened the door for all of us. And even more than that, just the people we're going to touch and that learn from it. That's why I started this podcast with the help of, the Dingo. We want to encourage people. We want them to know that this dream you've had, that fire inspiration is not dead. You might have gone through situations. You might feel time is against you. Age, it doesn't matter. You can still have those dreams in your heart come to fruition, but it takes the community. It takes and I laughed to him like, this is a Texas boy, bro. This guy is from Texas, man.
Yeah.
And I love that you're the last interview for this year because we're trying to, encourage that community out here in Fort Worth. Dallas, big cities, they got that. They really do. And so we're just trying to say, but we can do it here too. We can do it online and build communities. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much.
Christmas, bro. Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sketcheads. Check out Joel McCray latest album, Merry Christmas Volume 2. It's a good. Just hit play. We're gonna share all his
I'm gonna do it now with my family.
Stuff like that. And man, enjoy yourself. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, y'all. Peace out.
Yeah.